Here's my Pelican 110 HD, the HYDRYVE. It's the version 2. So on the old one, it just said HD. This one says HD2. I believe they fixed some issues. I never had a version 1, so I don't know what exactly they fixed, but I know there was some issues with the first version of the pedals that they came out with. I've been doing a lot of research, and it looks like this will work with a HYDRYVE. So I plan on picking up a used HYDRYVE to keep as a backup or a spare. I contacted Pelican, and they told me that I can't buy a whole unit, at least not yet. If I could buy one, I would buy a whole other unit, just to have one, a spare one. Seems like it's pretty good quality. Looks like all the plastic is probably some sort of glass reinforced plastic, I guess. Pedals are aluminum, or this part is aluminum. The pedals are reversible. I took the guards off that go across the top because I don't like my feet getting caught up in them. So far I've had it out maybe about 10 times and I haven't had any issues out of it. It works really well. I haven't ran into anything with it yet. I generally try to keep an eye on what's under the boat. Make sure that I'm not in too shallow water. Put that off to the side. So I have the 110 HD. It's the 10 foot. I went from an Ascend 12T, which was just too big and bulky. I had a trolling motor on it and everything, and it just got to be too much. It was getting too heavy. I had to have a bed extender or put it up on. I got a track rack here. I just got tired of doing that. I just want something a little bit shorter, lighter. This is about the same width. The Ascend was 31 inches. This is 34. The stability is about the same, but anyway, that's not for this video. So being a 10 foot, I really don't have a lot of stuff on it. I keep just a bag here. I keep my little emergency paddle here, and this is just let's flip it around, the Propel little paddle from Walmart. The reason I keep this for in shallow water, so I can maneuver around in shallow water. Even with a paddle kayak, I still used this before I used the trolling motor or anything, so that I wasn't have to be dealing with that big double-sided paddle. It works really good, so I keep it up there. That way it's in reach at all times. Over here I have a Nite waterproof pouch bag thing. The only thing that I didn't really like about this 110 kayak is there's no little storage containers or anything right here, like little indents or whatever, like on some other kayaks. That's fine. I'm trying to find something to do with like my lures as I switch them out, the hooks and worms and soft plastics and whatnot. I might put something, I might get the Hobie mesh and mount it, over here on the side. So what I use this for is I put my phone in here, and I also have an SJ cam. It's like a knockoff GoPro that I wear on my chest. And it's mainly just so that I can just record fish and get good screenshots with both hands. I'm not really a video type deal yet. So I just put 2 pad eyes here and here, use some zip ties, and this thing is really strong. It's got a nice, real strong rubber seal. I don't know if it's made out of some kind of Kevlar or what it's made out of, but the thing was like $20 some. I think I'll link it down from on Amazon to get it. I don't know if I have anything here that I can put into it. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it fits, like, when I open it, and I keep my phone down in there, so I have an LG phone, a G6, so it's a pretty good sized phone, and I keep it down there so that it's within reach. And I can access it with one hand, just grab the zipper, pull it down, and then reach in and get your phone, put it back in there. Yeah, it's supposed to be really good quality, top of the line, so we'll see how well it works out. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these bungees or not. This bag, I don't know. I got some junk and stuff in there. Over here, I have my depth finder, or fish finder, or sonar, and maps, and whatever. I had a Lowrance Hook 2.7 triple shot. I liked the unit, but it didn't have maps, so it had a GPS, and you could map like where you're going, but you can't see maps behind it, so you can't see like the water or roads or anything like that. The triple shot GPS version doesn't support even add-on maps. So I took it back to Cabela's, got my money back, and went to Bass Pro. They didn't have this one at Cabela's. Went to Bass Pro, and for another $100, I got this Humminbird, and it's a Helix. I don't know if that'll focus. It's a Helix 7 chirp, side imaging, down scan, and down imaging, whatever. All in one, and it's also got maps, so it'll support like Navionics add-on card. It's got a little card here on the side, and I have that mounted on. It's mounted on a RAM ball mount. I don't know, it's hard to see it. It's mounted on a RAM ball mount with the standard like full-size mounting plate. I used some screws from another Humminbird depth finder because the ones that came with these were really long, and so what I did was I took a cutting board, like a cheap cutting board, and cut some little pieces off of it and drilled it out with my drill press, and then used those so that I didn't have to try to find nuts and bolts and, you know, use the screws that came with another unit, but they fit in there pretty good. So it looks relatively clean. My wiring right now, I just have it zip tied up there. I really don't want to drill a bunch of holes in the boat. For the mount, I did the same thing. I also took some cutting board, cut a piece out, and then I used some longer stainless steel screws, pulled up the screws in the Scotty track, drilled these out with my drill press, and then put that, you know, cutting board in, and then mounted the mount to that. And the reason for that was so that I could spread the load, because this is a pretty good sized unit. So I wanted to spread the load across more than just, you know, the little gear head. You know, because these are just plastic. The transducer, I got the Scotty transducer, and the one thing that I like about the Humminbird unit is the transducer is smaller. The triple shot, the transducer was like, I don't know, it was maybe like 8 or 9 inches long. It was really long. So, and what that did was that put a lot of like sideways stress on this transducer mount. I mean, it worked good, but I like this transducer a little bit better because it's smaller. And then on the side here, I just have a Velcro strip, and that's just to kind of protect it, or, you know, driving down the road, keep it from bouncing up and sliding around and whatnot. And that works. This works perfect. It's got a little bit of like water drag noise when you're moving, but it's not too bad. The unit is a 7-inch Helix 7. Well, obviously I think the 7 and the Helix is for 7-inch. I think that's it on that. So I have the power wire. I ran the power wire down here under the seat. I got a zip tie right there. And I ran that PFT. That's an NRS Chinook. Really good PFD. I like it a lot. It's comfortable. So I ran this back, the power cable back to here. And let's see, is there better lighting? I'll turn this up. Let me grab a light out of my toolbox here. See if that's better. So I have right down here, I ran the cable, power cable, through that. Well, it's not going through the pad eye, but I have a zip tie going through the pad eye. They're cheap enough to cut off if I want to take the whole unit off. Right now I have it running down there, and then that is with some heat shrink butt connectors, and of course heat shrink tubing on there. And then this is to one of those waterproof IP65 or whatever connectors. I have some here. Let's see. These connectors here, 2-pin IP65. I don't know what they are. They're supposed to be waterproof. You have a male and a female. And then these screw together and they have an O-ring. So that comes over to there, and they unscrew this light. Comes over to here, and then goes into my battery box here. With the battery box, I put some pictures on Facebook of this in the Kayak group. This is just I think it's Outdoor Products or something, box from Walmart. And I've had the battery from Walmart too. I think I paid like 20 bucks for it. It's a 7.5 amp hour battery. And what I used are these cable glands. And basically how these work is, sorry, it's a little bit difficult to do this with one hand. So inside of here, these have a rubber O-ring. And you basically, well, let's feed this through first. So you put that through, put this through like that. And then as you tighten down on this, it tightens down the O-ring that's on the inside of there, and it makes a watertight seal. This nut comes off so you can drill a hole, put this in, and then put the backing nut on. And then what that's going to give you is this here. And plenty of people have done this, so I won't go over in too much detail, you know, how to do it. I'll put a link to the cables and whatnot that I used. This is the fuse that came with the unit. I think it's like a 3 amp. Yeah, 3 amp fuse. And then I just put some connectors on the end of there. And then this battery, I get 5 or 6 hours, probably a little bit more. I haven't used it more than 5 or 6 hours at a time. I'm probably going to switch to a lithium battery, like a 10 amp hour. I think it's called a Noctua battery, And that's mainly because I'm trying to cut down on weight. This thing weighs 6.5 pounds. It's not that heavy, but 6.5 pounds here, 4 pounds here, 5 pounds there, you know, 2 pounds here, it starts to add up. So that's my battery box. And this is just foam from Harbor Freight, like floor mats from Harbor Freight. It seemed to work pretty good. They're cheap and easy to cut. So that just goes into here. And I can unscrew this. And let's see. See if I can get this off. It's a little difficult with one hand. Let me sit this down for a sec. Okay, so I unscrewed that. And this, what I have here, this is just a cheap cup holder from Cabela's. Usually I have two hands here. So I have the Rail Blaza or Blaza, whatever it's called. Let's see. Rail Blaza Starport HD kit, mounting track mount kit. So I have these on a piece of a cutting board. Well, it's not a piece of a cutting board, it is a cutting board. So basically what I can do is take this off of here. And I guess I took that too far out. So basically what I can do is I can take this off of here and take it completely off of the kayak. I don't know how often I'll do that, but it seems like a good idea. I can mount, sorry, the thing came off. So I can mount, basically all I do is stick it right back on there, tighten it down, and then the whole box is ready to go. I put it on this piece of cutting board and on the Scotty tracks, and the thought process behind that is if I want to put something else there, like a bigger battery, I don't know why I would do a bigger battery, but maybe like some other thing or whatever there, I can mount it to the Scotty track. And then it's removable, and the only thing that is really there that is holes is the Scotty track. And of course, Scotty track's not really going to hurt anything. You can just mount anything or whatever. And then that is, you know, just right behind the seat. I have a C-Tug. A little expensive, but in my opinion, it's definitely worth it. It makes pulling the kayak much easier. This is the Exo Crate by Pelican. And this is it's like a canvas bag that Pelican makes for your crate. I have a Yak Attack crate. You can use any milk crate. I think it's any standard 13 by 13 crate. It works fine for this one. It should work fine for any other ones. I got the Yak Attack crate because it was cheap. It was only a couple dollars, and I really didn't want to drive around begging stores to give me a milk crate. So far, it works pretty good. I just got it, so time will tell how well it holds up. It's got a pouch back here. It's got some spots, you know, over here to put stuff in, pliers and fish grips and whatever. It's got a pocket in the front. I got my C-Tug strap going around it. It's got a pocket in the front. And then over here on the other side, it's got two rod holders, but I think that they're going to be kind of flimsy. So either put like a piece of PVC pipe or something in there, or just don't use them. I don't know if I'm going to use the rod holders. The main reason that I got the bag was so I can just lift all my stuff out. Like if I want to take it out of the kayak, or for whatever reason, I don't know why I would, but it just makes it easier to carry everything because it's a bag. It's just a bag. I put it on my shoulder. It's got fish gear. If you're fishing in the surf or whatever, You just take the bag with you. I have the lever lock, and that is made by Yak Attack. I see some people put it down here, but I didn't really want it down there. So with it being a 10-foot kayak, the way that I set this up was I put these pulleys up here and I used duct tape to hold them to the kayak. And then I ran my wiring, or not wiring, ran my cables. And I did the same thing back here. So this works fairly well with it being up this high. I haven't seen anybody else put it up that high on this kayak, but it does work. I didn't want to put it down below here too far. I had it further down on my other kayak, and it was a little bit of a pain to use. Scotty rod holder with Scotty gear head, and then two roto grips. These work really good for your paddle, or in my case, the small paddle, small emergency paddle. And that's pretty much it. So far, the seat's pretty comfortable. I think I might try to raise it a little bit, or I don't know. It's a little low. I don't know how the pedal is going to work, how well it's going to pedal with it being, if you raise the seat. I think Jackson makes a seat that supposedly fits in here. I don't know. I don't have to wait and see. The hatch in the back is kind of inaccessible if you have something here. It's really difficult to get to this. There's no hatch in the front, but they do have a center point here. So I'm going to drill this out, or cut this out, and put a hatch in here. But that's it. So far, seems like a good kayak. It's nice and stable. I have no issues standing in it. Whether that's in shallow water, deep water. You know, I'm 5'6", 185 or so pounds. So if you're over 6 foot, you might want to look at the 12 foot or the 13 foot, whatever the longer, the Catch 130. I went with the 110 simply because I want a smaller kayak. I had a 12-foot Ascend, and half of the space in the front was just never used. And it's just a lot of extra kayak that I don't really need. The only thing that I don't like, and I don't know if I know another video, Alex, I think his name is, that guy, he mentioned about the rod holders, about this one, about reversing this so that it faces the front. And he got them to do this, but mine, for some reason, it's still facing the back. So I may switch that, pull that out and switch it. But with it being three rivets here, I don't think that the front is going to cover up these two holes. But other than that, so far it seems like a good kayak. The rudder is relatively easy to use, works really well. It stores really well. Be mindful of your cables here. If you get this, make sure they will start to loosen up. Don't over tighten the set screws. You will strip it out. Two handles on the back, one handle on the front. It's nice and wide, stable. One thing I really like about the Pelican is the plastic is, they call it Ramex, but the plastic is really, really strong. It doesn't flex a lot like my Ascend kayak really flexed a lot, and it was really difficult to stand in because when you're standing, you know, the floor is flexing. Not only is the floor flexing, but the kayak is moving as well. This is really, it seems really solid. It seems like a really well built kayak, and I haven't had any issues out of the drive, but we'll see how that holds up. I plan on getting a used HYDRYVE if Pelican can't get me a spare HYDRYVE. I assume at some point they'll have, I mean, it would make sense for them to sell a HYDRYVE that you can just buy outright. But we'll see. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below, I guess, just like every other video. And thanks for watching.